Dear friends, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome all the friends from around the world to attend the 7th China Global Think Tank Innovation Forum 2022, hosted by CCG, supported by ACCW, and Secretary General of CCG, Maple Miao. For the century, we can see the intertwining of COVID-19 and the different tensions altogether. So in the post-COVID period, we can see a lot of things going to be recovered. At this background of the complicated things and events, the cooperation can enhance our ability to withstand the test of times and the challenges. So against this background, we at this forum would invite the leaders of the different corners of life in terms of the cooperation and competition, the convening of the cooperation in Asia-Pacific region, and the revitalization of China's economy, and the interaction and communications between China and the world. We're going to conduct insightful discussions. And CCG are faced with these incoming challenges and opportunities, and also a lot of issues and a lot of events are going to be launched one after another. And so the 7th China Global Think Tank Innovation Forum held by CCG, and we have successfully held this forum for 6 consecutive times. And we have received a lot of participation from the different corners of life with a lot of expertise. And we are going to provide innovative solutions. So right now, this forum has become one of the influential brands of think tank forums. So this time, we are going to further focus on the hot spot issues to think about the new patterns of the development against the new backgrounds of the new era, and to cope with the challenges around the globe by providing our solutions. So we are going to move to the keynote speech session. We will be very honored to invite Mr. Zhu Zhanyuan, President of China International Communications Group, Doctor degree, and used to be the former Vice Minister of the MOST, Ministry of Science and Technology, and the Ministry of Education. So over to you, Mr. Du. Thank you. Distinguished President Richard Harris and President Henry Wang, esteemed colleagues, leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm very happy to be together with all of my friends at this 7th China Global Think Tank Innovation Forum 2022 to discuss altogether on the global think tanks' sustainability, as well as the innovative patterns of think tanks against the new era. Right now, COVID-19 pandemic, the different waves that keep coming, and we can see a lot of resurgence of the different events. The geopolitical tensions are also keep upgrading. The supply chain crisis and also the food security crisis are intertwined with each other together with other events. Human beings are faced with a lot of challenges. President Xi has proposed that the world, again, standing at another cross point of the history, the 77th UNGA as a milestone, also described the current status quo of the world. And the Secretary General of UN also has sketched out that right now we are in the deepest plight of the times. Human beings experiencing the unprecedented challenge together with uncertainties. And to this point, around the globe, it is fair to say that has been proven and reached consensus on. The problem in front of us is how to tackle this point. The world at current times, all the countries share the same destiny in face of the issues of the fate of the human being. It is necessary to exert the power of the wisdom of human beings. And it is necessary for us to consolidate our efforts together at this milestone for cooperation or confrontation, inclusiveness or separation or isolation against each other. What is right, what is wrong, and what is the reasonable choice? And the solution provided by China is the shared community of human beings. And we are looking for the cooperation, prosperity, win-win. The 77th UNGA's president, chairman, Mr. Qureshi, also emphasized that all countries need to embrace the world's sustainable concept and the scientific methodologies to cope with the current roaming problems in the world. In order to cope with these common issues and problems, we have to have the consolidation and the spirit of wisdoms and cooperation to exert the wisdoms and to sketch the plans together is the shared responsibility and missions of all countries. That is also the core values of the common wisdoms, especially at this background of the diverse cultures intertwining together. Countries need to actually come together and to spread and amplify the values of the wisdoms. We have to concentrate on these common wisdoms, at the same time, honor more responsibility if ability allows. Think tanks shall be the highland of spreading the wisdoms and cultures and intellectuals, and to spread the wisdoms and thoughts to cope with the challenges faced by all human beings. The solutions need to be based on the theoretical basis provided by the think tanks. And the think tanks shall also become the test stone for the different solutions. And we have to trial the different practices, and we have to provide the figures and facts, and we have to show our attitudes and solutions and provide the solutions pointing to the directions in the future and navigate for the human beings in this world. In the process of tackling these problems, we have to discover and nurture the talents with a good ability and a very good ability of expression, especially, and to develop the multi-task, especially the young people, the talent. The think tanks should also be the incubators of the thoughts and innovation. We have to open the minds for human beings and broaden the spaces of communication between the different civilizations. We have to broaden our imagination, and we need to provide and propose the solutions. But during this process, the self-vitality of the think tanks should also be exerted. And at the same time, against the current backgrounds as to how to innovatively give role play to the vigorous think tanks, I like to share with you some thoughts as follows. First, we have to be broad-minded and think about the benefits of all countries and all people. The ability of the think tanks to come from the experiences accumulation should not be altered or changed by interests of any group. And we have to respond to the international most commonly concerned issues. Human beings, it's only one planet Earth. As the global think tank, it is more important to play its role to be minded with the whole world and care about the benefit of the people. And we have to care not only ourselves and also care about other people and other countries. And peace, development, fairness, justice, democracy as the values shared by all human beings shall be advocated by think tanks as well. So we need to consciously get rid of the principles such as the zero-sum game and the jungle rules and the very isolated ideologies.
we need to embrace the new ideas and concepts and very actively forge the new community of the world by providing our thoughts. Second, we have to aim towards the global benefits, enhancing our ability of thinking and insight. Right now, the world is faced with a lot of challenges, the deficits of the trust, the deficit of the confidence, and the deficit of the development and the prosperity, and so on and so forth. So the challenges are numerous. The world is furthermore in need of the best solutions and practices instead of fighting and confronting with each other. The world is in need of the thoughts and wisdoms benefiting all human beings instead of servicing only the limited group of the interested people. Be it the energy crisis, food crisis, or poverty eradication, climate change, and these are all the problems which are very prominent, or the problems in a post-COVID era related with the long-term development. All these problems and issues need the efforts on the studies by all the think tanks, consolidate the efforts of all human beings, and to look for the solutions and navigate all human beings towards the right directions. So the technologies right now is advancing very fast, and the degree of the civilization of human beings is unprecedented. So the weapons would not be the level of civilization. We have to deepen our thinking, which would be more important indicator for measurements. And we have to look at this, the depth and also the width of the civilizations. So the measurement of the civilization, focusing on not only the majority of the countries, but should look at the aspiration for the better future of all human beings. In tackling the problems or issues faced with these challenges, we have to exert concerted efforts and aspire for the highest mission of human beings. Thirdly, the cross-border cooperation is the mission that need to exert power from all think tanks at the same time as their responsibility. The complexity of the world cannot be analyzed thoroughly by a single one or two think tank or experts, or rely on the power from a single great power, one or two. We have to look for the different wisdoms, the different backgrounds, and the different civilizations, different cultures, different countries to contribute to the final and ultimate solutions. And think tanks has to broaden its vision, and especially make use of this good conditions from the IT era to absorb the diverse insights from the different corners of life, and to exert its wisdoms, the wisdom, be wise and reasonable in thinking. In recent years, my organization, through the communications and convergent development with each other, with our peers, and cooperation with our peers. Last year, I visited the ACCW together with Brazil and Pakistan and France. Together we set up the Conglomeration Research Institute of the world at current times. And we share a lot of wisdoms with the different countries through this program. We hope that we can continuously launch and promote the different products with the human beings think tank wisdoms. And fifth, the youngsters also has to be absorbed by the power of the think tanks as a platform. A lot of long-term issues in the whole process of the development would pop up, and the new problems that would come in the future, one after another. Generations of youngsters need to be generated and mobilized. We have to look forward into the future and to look at the demand and requirements of the youngsters and to absorb them, to attract them on this platform so that their self-development, career development together with the world development can be converged together, and so that they can broaden their minds and they can have the long-term vision by themselves. They can think about the development in a long-term manner.
For that, we, together with organizations like CCG, initiated the dialogue with global leaders to build a bridge with young people from different countries to enhance the exchanges and friendship, so that world youths can enhance their understandings. And this actually also reflects the unique value of think tanks. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, faced with the complex world situation, what we need the most is wisdom and solidarity, not arrogance and separation. As the Chinese saying goes, as long as we have good thinking, we'll always have more solutions than problems. I'm optimistic about the future of the world, but we need to work very hard. We would like to work with think tanks from the world to innovate ways for cooperation and make contribution to the development of humankind and the world. I wish this forum every success. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Du, President of CICG. Mr. Du mentioned that the role of think tanks in China and the world. He also emphasized that we need to encourage youth to also participate in the think tank to make them more influential. Next, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Richard Haas, President of Council on Foreign Relations, to give a keynote speech. Mr. Richard Haas has served on very important positions at the US government. He served as president of CFR for 20 years. He also served as special aide to George W. Bush. He is also a policy director of State Department and a key counsel to Colin Powell. He's a very experienced manager of think tank. He's managed the CFR for more than 20 years, and we know CFR is a very well-known global think tank. You have the floor.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Wang. It's good to be with you again, if virtually. Look forward to again the day when it will be easy to do these things in person. I do think such exchanges are important, whether between governments or think tanks. Happy to talk about think tanks for a minute, because I've been here for 20 years at the Council on Foreign Relations, but I also spent years at the Brookings Institution, at the Institute for Strategic Studies in London, at the Carnegie Endowment. So I've spent probably, 25 or 30 years in think tanks throughout my career. I believe the think tanks occupy an important place in the national conversation. On one hand, you have universities. Universities often deal with more theoretical concerns. They're very concerned about methodology, often quantitative analysis. They tend to be more removed from matters of policy. And then on the other hand, at the other end of the spectrum, you have people, say, in government or business. And to be honest, they are busy. I've worked for 4 presidents at the Pentagon, the State Department, the White House. Now, when you're in government, you have all these things coming across your desk, and it's your challenge to keep up. I think it was Henry Kissinger who said that when you go into government, you no longer have the time to generate to intellectual capital. What you do is you tend to spend it down. You tend to use it because you're so busy meeting the challenges that come into your inbox. What I believe is valuable then about think tanks is they occupy the space in between the academia and, say, government. And think tanks have the time to do serious analysis, but they also have the responsibility and the obligation to produce what we call policy relevant analysis. It's got to be, think tanks have to produce work that explains what is going on or might be going on, about its significance, and also, where possible, think tanks have an obligation to provide policy recommendations. And that could be of use either for citizens or governments. And I think that's what makes them important, what makes them unique. Yeah. In the United States, what makes a think tank unique, again, is you're producing intellectual work. Again, that's policy relevant. We're also a place where you can train people. There's probably more than a dozen people in the current Biden administration who worked at the Council on Foreign Relations. You mentioned our intern program. Over the course of the next decade, we will train more than 1,000 interns, hundreds of young research assistants and associates, hundreds of fellows. So think tanks are in the business of producing ideas, but also of producing or developing people who can then assume more responsible positions in either government or business, journalism, or in the foreign policy conversation. We're lucky here at the Council on Foreign Relations. We have fellows producing books and articles. You mentioned Foreign Affairs magazine. It's the leading magazine or journal in the world. We do it with meetings. We've also gone into the business of education. What we are trying to do is provide educational materials for young people in high schools as well as colleges and universities in order to teach them about the world, why it matters, how it operates, and so forth. So I believe that think tanks have enormous opportunities, but also significant responsibilities. Here at the Council on Foreign Relations can put forward ideas or recommendations. They can do it in articles, say in Foreign Affairs. They can do it in books. They can also do it in conversations like this. One thing we started years ago, probably about 10 years ago, I started here at the Council on Foreign Relations, is something we call the Council of Councils. And what we've done is we bring together maybe the representatives of maybe 24 think tanks around the world, where we discuss issues of global governance, how the world is tackling, or maybe should tackle, various global challenges. Think tanks can participate in track 2 or track 1.5 dialogues. Think tanks can have meetings like this one. So again, by the person-to-person side, as well as the intellectual side, I believe that think tanks have an important role to play. Again, I've been in government, and I know, when you're in government, you're busy. You're also under certain constraints when you're in government, because you have to represent official policy. And when you're working in a think tank, you have more space. You have a little bit more room to offer up suggestions. And when you say things, it doesn't have the weight of official policy. So I appreciate the difference from when I used to be in the government and I would be speaking for the government, and now I'm here and I no longer speak for the government, and it gives me a certain degree of freedom. Now, what I say may have less weight. I understand that, because I no longer represent the government. On the other hand, it has the weight of the content, whatever. If there are good ideas, they're good ideas. And again, when you speak from a think tank, you have freedom. And what therefore can be useful is these kinds of dialogues can be a place where ideas can be introduced. And then if they are good ideas, then they can be brought into official channels. And I think that is one of the ways that think tanks, as you say, can bridge differences. And it can expose people in government to new ideas. And these people can then act on those ideas. So there's all sorts of ways in which outsiders can influence what insiders do. Thank you. Stay healthy, stay well, and I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Richard Haas, President of CFR. In his presentation, he mentioned the unique role of think tank in its unique position between academia and government, and the unique freedom of think tank. Unique role by the think tank. Thank you. Next, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Wang Huiyao, President of CCG, to give a keynote speech. Mr. Wang Huiyao is the Vice President of Public Relations Association of China. He's written a lot of important works. You have the floor, Dr. Wang. Thank you. Mr. Du, Mr. Richard Haas, and our panelists. In the interest of time, I will be brief. First, I would like to say that the 7th China Global Think Tank Innovation Forum, this is the 7th event of this forum, and we have the support from our sponsor. Thank you very much. And starting from last year, we invited president of think tank from the world to give a speech at CSI. And this year we invited Richard Haas. So the earliest forum is Mr. Megan from Pennsylvania University, but he passed away last year. So we know think tank in the international community has developed very strongly. There are 2,000 think tanks in the US, and there are more than 1,000 think tanks in China. So think tanks grow as the country grows stronger. CCG organized this series of forum. It's been the 7th year that we've organized this event. We hope that we can build it into a platform to share wisdom.
To this 7th China Global Think Tank, the conference or summit, basically. We have been holding this for the 7 years in a row, and we are in partnership with China Contemporary World Studies. So it's really a very great event. And so since last year, we've been having a president of a think tank to participate. And so we had John Harry of the CSIs, and also of Richard Haas of Council of Foreign Relations. So I really look forward to the discussion. And we have many journalists, we have think tankers, fellows, and we're also going to transmit this whole event online and through different social media. So we hope to really get a lot of summaries, digested recommendations, and suggesting out of this conference, and we hope that it can be a bridge between China and the world. So I'll saving the time, I will just stop here. Thank you very much, and we look forward to the very heavy and fruitful and a lot of participants from around the world today to our think tank forum. Thank you all very much, and for all the participants online, offline, and so at this very special moment. Thank you.